All right, welcome to this episode of the Connected Car Dilemma. My guest today is one of the most respected voices in the automotive retail industry today, Mr. Sandy Cerami, also known to the automotive industry as the Solutionist. So for more than 2 decades, Sandy has been helping dealerships win the culture war by building stronger leaders and also better customer experiences. So today we're going to be exploring how culture and the connected car dilemma intersect to create the dealerships of the future. So welcome, Sandy.
Hi, Honor, buddy. It's good to see you.
You as well. So let's start with the Sandy Cerami origin story. We know what happened with Wolverine and how he got here. So you're basically the Wolverine of automotive. You can't kill you. You get stronger every day. So tell us what inspired you to launch Sandy Cerami Associates, and how did you earn the title The Solutionist?
Yeah, well, what's the old adage? Necessity is the mother of invention. I think necessity is the mother of creation as well. You and I have talked about this. I'm a recovering General Motors dealer. I'm a third generation car brat, if you will. And, I'd spent my entire first half of my career on the retail side of the business. I grew up in and around the business, literally spending Saturdays on the showroom floor, when my dad was running and operating the dealership. And it was something that I loved from the very first minute that I was exposed to it and could understand what the hell was going on. The excitement and the action, the activity and the people in the business really caught my attention. And so, I was not exactly the world's greatest academic or student. If you pull my college transcripts, you'd see that I failed out of college twice, couldn't even crack a 1 on the GPA. And
No
that's because
wonder we're such good friends.
It's exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. And I used to be ashamed to say that. And I don't say it proudly now. I just say it as a matter of fact, because it is. But the truth of the matter is I recognized later on in my life that I just wasn't in the right spot for me. I enjoyed rolling up my sleeves. I enjoyed the dealership business. I just enjoyed people. And I really couldn't wait to get into the business side of life. And so while it wasn't a direct route to where I wanted to go, the second time getting kicked out of school was, my dad's opportunity to humble me. But in humbling me, he put me through virtually every chair that he possibly could in the retail side of the automotive business.
Smart.
With a couple of exceptions. It really was. I didn't think so at the time. I really wanted to get on the showroom floor and sell. That was my dream. But he ran me through the back end of the operation and fixed operations, touching service parts, and we had a body shop on site. Touched virtually every single desk with one exception. I was not really a quality technician. I worked in the new car prep department to spin wrenches, if you will,
Hey,
putting
that's
on license
fair.
plate
That's
frames
fair.
and checking tire pressure and pulling wheels and stuff like that. But I was not mechanically inclined. Still to this day, people laugh about the fact that I couldn't tell them much about the mechanical side of an automobile. My right-hand guy, Ron Marvel, will tell you that because he's such a car nut. He gets a good kick out of it. I grew up on the retail side of the business and had the opportunity when my grandfather passed away. We had a disastrous estate issue at that point in time. We put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I was able to, along with my wife, Mary, buy the store from my dad. And we had a wonderful run up until about the year 2007, 2008, when the global financial crisis hit and the GMBK happened. So to your point, necessity is the mother of invention or the mother of creation. We woke up and, we had no business and I had to reinvent myself to a certain degree. And I knew that I loved working with people. I loved the profession and the art of selling. I knew that I could teach others to do that because I had done it effectively throughout my career. And so I started a real simple little company that was designed to recruit and train prospects for a professional selling career in automotive and then placing them. And along the way, that business morphed into what we have today at Sandy Cerami Associates, where we've got a full-blown coaching and consulting business that's both on site and online using our virtual Academy 365 that Ron and Nikki, his wife, have really been the architect of and engineered the construction of online. And we serve inside and outside of automotive a number of high-level, small, mid-cap, and Fortune 200 companies on a regular basis in leadership development, cultural overhauls, and then ultimately sales, marketing, and business development so that they can achieve the kind of results that they're looking for.
But you're such a natural connector of people. I mean, that is something that you don't have to try. If you're in the room with three people
Hmm.
and you're one of the three, you're going to connect the other two, irrespective of what they want. It's just a natural Sandy Cerami gift.
Yeah,
And I
I
think that
appreciate
plays
that.
into your nature as a consultant, a trainer.
Well, there's a reason behind that, right? So one of the things that we talk about all the time is start connected, stay connected. And I think it's critical. Ron and Nikki and I were on a team meeting this morning talking about exactly that. We were talking about our business in specific, and this is the same for your business, for dealerships. It really doesn't make a difference. At the end of the day, the relationships that we cultivate, the way that we're able to add value for folks and for the businesses that we either do business with or we do business for, okay, either one, create opportunities for us. And it's one of the pillars of the seven pillars of Global Business Development, which is creating business through simple conversations and converting them into opportunity. So it's something we enjoy doing.
So I like my next question. You're such a proponent of good culture. And I love to see that your personal culture inside of your organization, you build from the inside and then it
Mhm.
just kind of bubbles out. And so let's talk about that for a second. Culture is a word that gets bantered about at dealerships frequently. So, from your perspective, what defines a true high performance culture and why is that such a game changer?
Well, first thing I would say to you is that, you walk into any organization and you can tell pretty quickly whether the culture is positive or negative, right? And so I like to call it killer culture. Killer culture is usually driven by incredible leadership, clear vision, like clarity of vision, making certain that you have purpose and that there's an alignment of purpose, not just, at the top with the leadership team, but alignment of purpose throughout the entire organization. Everybody knows the reason that you're there. And it works as almost a battle cry or a mission statement, if you will. And everybody can sink their teeth into it and you can feel it. Like when you walk into an organization that has killer
Oh,
culture,
most
you can almost
certainly.
cut it with a knife or a pair of scissors. And so I think, having alignment, having accountability, reciprocal accountability, meaning that the leadership is there to make certain that everybody knows exactly what to do and ultimately that they do it. And then the team is there making certain that the leadership is being held accountable to the same standard that they're doing what they're supposed to do. So it's a reciprocal, almost a cyclical accountability. And they commit to people, process, and proficiency as it relates to getting things done at the highest level with the least amount of wasted effort. And they keep it simple in doing that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to a GM last week, and we got in the culture conversation. And he's a big Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live,
Hmm.
YouTube Live. He's got his own channel. A lot of people follow him. And he said this to me. He goes, "Look, Dean, culture is my rudder. It steers me." He said, he says, I can steer this organization to a bad destination where there's infighting, backbiting, unproductive, unhealthy relationships, or we can row the boat together. But he says it starts with me. And he's a big
No
proponent of
question.
that trickle down culture. But we talked about that a little bit. And he says, Dean, I like trickle down culture and bubble up feedback. And
Yeah,
he says,
100%.
that helps me steer this organization in the right direction. I had never heard it put that way before, but it was a very interesting way. And like, I got to say, I agree with him. It was phenomenal.
Well, I think of it this way, right? In a killer culture, the culture acts almost like antibodies. All right. If you have somebody that doesn't fit or is not aligned with the values and the purpose of your organization, killer culture will spit that person out like poison. Right. And it happens fairly quickly. In a culture that's broken or dysfunctional, what it tends to do is repel high quality, high performance individuals because they can sense it right away. And even if they sneak past the goalie a little bit and they get into the organization, they find out that it's not exactly what it was purported to
They're
be, or
not
there's
there
high
long,
levels of
are they?
dysfunction, they're out. They're actually self-editing and getting themselves out of the organization pretty
That's
quickly
right.
too.
That's right. Well, dealers are increasingly concerned about the factory telematics. And I know you and I talk about this all the time. And in some cases, the factories, the OEM native telematics end up redirecting customers away from a selling dealership.
Hmm.
Usually within the same market, obviously. From a cultural and a strategic standpoint, how do you see this impacting dealer and customer relationships?
That's a great question. You and I have talked about this over the course of the last year and change. The first thing I would say to you is that when we've got an organization that is built upon trust and relationships and not transactions, it becomes much easier to combat outside forces in terms of how they impact our relationship with the people that we serve and sell to on a daily basis. And so if again, I go back to something that's a mantra for us. If we start connected, we stay connected, meaning that that relationship becomes sacrosanct, not because we want to sell them something, but because we want to make sure that they know that we're there to serve them in any capacity that we possibly can. And sometimes that means outside of the traditional retail automotive services that we provide. And so if we are focused on making sure that we are the most trusted resource that they have in the automotive space, it's very hard for anybody, including the OEM, to supplant us as their number one, point of connection as it relates to that relationship.
What can an individual dealer do to protect their customer base and reinforce loyalty if the factory is redirecting service opportunities?
Communicate, communicate, and communicate. And I don't mean that in terms of over communicate. I want you to communicate with clarity and communicate with purpose and make sure that they know that when they hit high noon and they've got something that they need to address, that you're the one that they should be reaching out for, that you're the one that's going to be able to provide for them the right answers because you have a level of familiarity with them and a level of trusted relationship that nobody else can supplant. Right? I mean, when you think about it from the OEM perspective, there are 2 or 3 degrees of separation between that end user, the driver of the vehicle, and the OEM. You can put your DMS in between, your CRM, um, maybe an independent repair facility, something along those lines where they're from the outside. You have a direct connection to that individual. You spent the most high quality time with them on a personal basis. And you have to make sure that your people understand from a cultural perspective that that's something that should be guarded and should be cherished and nurtured on a perpetual basis.
And I think, it's interesting. Third-party telematics give the dealers an opportunity in many cases to reach out directly to the customers. I talked to someone last week specifically about messaging. At the end of the day, it's not an opportunity to say, "Hey, Sandy, what'd you have for breakfast today, buddy?"
Right.
You have to put out clear offers that create value for their customers and improve either their vehicle ownership experience or they make it easier to connect with the dealership when they're needed, right? We're not building pen pals here to step back into a different generation.
No question.
We're not trying to do that. We're trying to say, hey, look, we are your trusted advisor. We are the relationship you lean on when you need something. And I think sometimes the abuse of let's see, say it this way, the 2 cans in the string that connect the customer and speaking of Wayback Machine, right?
No
But
doubt.
the 2 cans in the string that connect the dealership and the customer, I think, what happens if you over communicate? What if you put up offers? Hey, I'll give you $5 off of a $200 oil change. Is that quality offers? Do you get muted? Do your notifications get turned off if you don't do a
Man,
good job?
the short answer is yes, but I'll share this with you. So I believe very strongly in context, right? The context of the offer has to be relevant and it has to add value to that communication at that moment in time. And so we've got to be clear in terms of how we're communicating with them. So if for instance, have a dealer group that we have worked with in the past. And one of the challenges that they had was they wanted to over communicate to quote unquote make up for the fact that they didn't feel that they can trust their selling professionals to stay in contact and communication with their
Wow.
clients. Okay. And their
That
unsold
happens.
prospects happens from time to time. So what happens? They would be that individual would be getting contacted 3, 4, 5, 6 times by 2 or 3 or 4, even 5 different people multiple times
Jeez.
in a short period of time, which completely, disavows trust, right? That destroys trust because they lose confidence in you. They begin to feel like a number. It just begins to feel like a transactional piece where all you want to do is sell them something as opposed to, as I said, contextually add value and be relevant to where they're at in terms of their ownership cycle or ownership experience at that point in time. So I think that's critical. But then if you get highly targeted, where you say to yourself, let's say for argument's sake, first party used vehicle acquisition is a pretty hot topic these days. All right. So imagine if you could use the connected car relationship that you control, not the OEM, that you control in order to solicit or proffer and offer to purchase the vehicle that they're driving, or what we teach all the time, own the driveway, other vehicles in the driveway. All right. It now becomes a relevant reason to reach out. There's a purpose behind the communication. It's of value because may have been thinking about, because they're 2.5 years into their ownership cycle, trading out of that vehicle. Maybe they're coming up off lease, whatever the case may be. It's our opportunity to begin a relevant contextual conversation that adds value, as opposed to just talking at them and causing noise in their life.
Yes. Hey, buddy is not exactly the best communication
Right.
headline and body content, is it?
No,
But you are
listen,
right, though.
they're
Go
not
ahead.
looking for more friends, Dean. What they're looking for is somebody that's a professional, a subject matter expert at what they do, and knows their clients.
You brought up a great point in talking about the contextual offer here. And one of the things that I think is fascinating is a lot of the communication from this side on the third party telematics really started out with, let's communicate regarding service opportunities. But really, at the end of the day, it's a microphone and speakers directly to the customer.
100%.
That offer can be whatever the offer needs to be. We are going to give you another $750 on your trade if you can come in by Thursday at 2 p.m. You're due for this service. You have this light on, and it means this.
Mhm.
We have these incentives. And I think creating the right offer for the right customer that adds value to them, really all you're doing is taking advantage of a communication channel. You just
No
have
question
to
about it.
understand how not to abuse it.
It's funny, when we talk about this, you and I say to you that the platform has so many different layers of capability. Just imagine, if you will, that you could attack things like, hey, we just want to let you know we got a client appreciation event happening this week. Hey, by the way, we've got a number of people lined up that are looking for a vehicle just like the one you're driving right now. We'd love the opportunity to make you an offer. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. As a matter of fact, we can do it virtually or we can do it on site. Choice is yours. Hey, we've got a service event coming up right now. We've got a, buy 3 tires, get one free. You're coming up on 25,000 miles on the vehicle. About 30,000 miles is when you'd like to take a peek at that. We'll offer you a free tire inspection. Stop in today. Things that are relevant, things that add value, make all the difference in the world, as opposed to falling into the report trap where we just want to communicate for the sake of communicating. We want to communicate because we want to show them that we're paying attention to what's going on with them, their life, their vehicle. And even if they're not at high noon, ready to do something at that moment in time, we're sending the message to them that we're here and we're paying attention to where you are in your ownership experience. And we're not going to just bark at you because we want to say, hey, buddy, what's going on? There's got to be
Correct.
relevance and context to it all.
And so when you do that and you do that properly, what you're actually doing is you're bridging the trust gap that the OE telematics sometimes create between the customer and the dealer by putting quality communications up. And it makes sure that that relationship doesn't get lost in the brand bucket, that it remains down right below that at the individual dealership. So it
Yeah, I
doesn't.
mean, with few exceptions, where the OEM frames the dealer in the relationship is not going to be optimal for the dealer. That I can tell you from experience. Okay. And so it's critically important that we maintain control over that relationship in any way that we possibly can. And I think the connected car element of it, where the dealer controls the level of communication and when it's happening and how it's happening, is an easy way for the dealer to usurp control and authority over that relationship.
That's right. You've always talked about leadership and accountability. So, how can leaders at a dealership instill a culture that not only embraces connected car insights, but also counters the challenges that the OEMs may create? And what does it mean to the staff?
Again, I'm going to go back to what are the fundamental values of the organization. If you believe that the relationship between the dealership and its people and its clients is sacrosanct, then it has to begin with a trusted relationship and making certain that people understand that the reason why we want to make certain that the connection between us and our clients is facilitated and improved as a result of the connected car element of our business model. You're going to have an opportunity for them to continue to just enhance the value of that relationship every single time you communicate through that connected car. You use the two cans with the wire. Every time you use that pipeline in order to communicate with them, you're doing something to enhance the value of that relationship. And I think it's got to be based on trust and real actual people, not just treating them like they're a number.
Early days, I'm going to go back to the origin story of Sandy Cerami Associates here. In the early days, you recruited quite a number of people to a number of dealerships and just for placement services. If a dealership had tools like connected car data, and I'm an average sales guy working at a dealership, and instead of encountering dead batteries, no fuel in the vehicles, the guy before me took a customer out on an Ultima test drive. He switched him to another car, but he just left that one near service because he didn't have time to deal with it then. Those common lot management issues that interrupt the sales process, are you more or less attracted to a dealership that offers you these types of tools to give your customer a better customer service or sales experience?
It's a great question. I mean, that is an epidemic challenge in stores. The ones that get it right benefit from it greatly, because anytime we interrupt the fluidity or the flow of that client or guest experience at the dealership level, it's a ding against the credibility of the dealership itself. Because most of the time, think about it, if you go into a restaurant to have a meal, okay, and you get to the restaurant, you're on time for your reservation, and you get there and they say, "Oh, we're just setting the table up for you. We're waiting for the rest of the silverware to be clean because we've had a busy night." They don't have the silverware in the right place. They don't have enough of the silverware. And now your meal is delayed by 10 minutes. Okay. Even though you were on time and you kept your end of the bargain, the restaurant was not ready and waiting for you upon your arrival. Or you're going there for your favorite meal and you find out that they've 86th that item off the menu. It just takes away or detracts from the experience. It's no different for us in the dealership world. When we've got to stop the process to go gas a vehicle up, or we've got to run around for 15 minutes while the guest is sitting at our desk looking for a vehicle, or there's a dead battery when we go out to start the vehicle, the confidence goes way down and the level of the experience that they expect has now just plummeted. And it's got an adverse impact on sales and gross profit. It's not to say we can't recover from it, but we're not optimizing and maximizing our client or guest experience and ultimately profitability and CSI. And by the way,
it affects the reputation and just what the customers, what the eyeballs see. They make their own judgments.
Well, what about on the internal side, Dean? How about if your people are bumping up against that on too regular a basis? One of the biggest challenges we see is salesperson turnover in our industry. And a lot of it has to do very often with things that are happening from a lack of proficiency or efficiency inside of the dealership, right?
Makes sense to me. Well, let's go with one final thought. If you could give dealers one cultural or even strategic shift to prepare them for a connected car future, especially with respect to the OEM influence in the customer journey, what tip would you give them?
I would make certain that it was part of the process, that we talked about it from the very beginning of greeting a guest on the showroom floor all the way through to the delivery, that we're talking about the benefits of the connectivity or the connected car aspect and the program itself, and talk about all the reasons why it's a value add for the driver. Okay. And I would touch upon all of that, and I'd get everybody fully committed to understanding the value that a connected car relationship brings to the long-term relationship opportunities and the referrals and repeat business opportunities that you can garner as a result of having control over that connected car relationship.
Man, I could not have said it better myself. Well, Sandy, thank you for joining us today. As always, your insights are always on target. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sandy Cerami, the solutionist.
Appreciate
and
it,
my
buddy.
good
It's always
friend.
good to hang. Always good to see you.
I appreciate you. And remember to like and subscribe to the Connected Car Dilemma. We'll see you next time.